We've got Cindy is kind of now coming on. That's good.
All right, well, yeah, welcome to our February edition of the Oregon ONE Online Improvement Committee. George, you want to lead us through
Yep.
our icebreaker?
Yeah. The icebreaker is, if I can find it. Icebreaker.
On the screen too.
There it is. Okay. What is your wild animal? What wild animal would you have as a pet? Now, before you give the answer, you can give it either in chat or you can display it on the camera there. And I would like to remind the members that this is your committee, so please feel free to give advice, opinions, disadvantage or advantage. It is important that we hear your voice on these matters. So who would like to start first on the have a pet idea? Okay. Mine would have to be a panther for being a wild animal because they're black, they're fast, and they've got good instincts. So I'll give about maybe a minute, 2 minutes to for everybody to put in their wild pet. Bruce, did you put?
I'll just share verbally because I can't think of what the animal's name is, but first, I'm Dion Destin. I'm executive support for Jillian Johnson. My pronouns are he, him. I always see it on the internet. I see pictures of it, and it looks like it always looks like it's smiling. It's like a beaver with a forever smile. So that's the one that I'll have to look it up now. I wasn't ready, but
is it a lemur?
No, it's a little bit bigger. I want to say it's
A
about the size
nutria?
of, I mean, it's about that size,
Uh-huh.
but it just for whatever reason when it just looks, and it always looks like it has a huge fake smile on its face. So that'll be mine.
Hyena?
No, not quite.
Oh, that's great.
That's great to have the crew smile and laugh. I like the idea.
Maria said, is it a sloth? They always smile, and they're the size of a beaver.
I think that's just my spirit animal there. Oh, it's a quokka.
Oh.
Quokka. Wonder if it'll let me paste a copy of picture here.
Hey, Vanessa. Nice to see you.
Can you spell it again? I gotta look this up.
This is fun. Oh, one of those.
Really?
Okay. Since we're doing that, let's go to the next thing on the agenda.
All right, I think this is me. So just what we did last month. I don't know about you all, but it feels weird now meeting once a month because it's been a while since we last met, and there wasn't any holidays in between. So, but we did break up into small groups last time to discuss 4 different requests, as you can see in there, and we only had time to talk about 2 of them, which, as I recall, were 4 and 16. Well, and as you can see below, so we did that and pretty much finalized. Well, I shouldn't say pretty much. We finalized the text around 4 and 16, and today we're going to come back to the 2 we didn't get a chance to talk about. But that was a really I don't know. It felt pretty good, the meeting. I know the breakout rooms were popular, and so now I'm going to hand it over to Samantha to talk about what we did hand in and is getting submitted for inclusion in the ONE system.
Okay, so we did get 2 of our requests in that are going to go in the March 20th build.
Yay.
I know, right? Very exciting. The first one was the explanatory text use of pencil and red X icons. If you look in your briefing sheet, which I think went out this morning because that was my fault. I took a very long time at getting everything prepped. But it's there. There is a sample that we're moving forward with. The one thing we did hear back from Deloitte is that doing it in the whole app, unfortunately exceeds a work item. But for this one, because it is just static text, there's no logic, none of that. They are willing to break it up over multiples. So for March 20th, we're going to put it on the income screens. The income screens are the ones where we find people saying they have the hardest time understanding what to do. So we'll be getting it in for the income screens. That explanation that if they need to update a record, that they use the pencil, and if they want to delete a record, they can use the red X icon. And then we're going to continue forward as we have time, since we don't have a big backlog, and we do know we're not always getting our work items allotment filled up every month. We're going to move forward and just kind of slot in additional changes as we have space, but starting with that high impact change to the income screen so that people can report changes to their income and understand how to do that. So also on March 20th will be the additional language. The description here on the PowerPoint isn't great. It's not linking documents, it's linking the applicant to their case. So it was that on that first landing screen, that let's get started screen where it talks about what the app is, we had outlined some language explaining that if the person is seeing the screen, but they already have benefits with us, to reach out to us and we can link them to their case. So in that briefing sheet that you received this morning, it should also have our working mock-up of that. I'm still going back and forth a little bit because I'm not 100% sure that they put in all the line breaks where I want them and all that good stuff. But that's little design thingies, visual portions. But overall, that one will be going in on March 20th as well. So we've got 2 going in for the end of next month. That's the recap on those.
Yay. Any questions?
Samantha, this is George. Could you please explain to the group how far we are as far as April all the way to December? Remember, we were just discussing that in our prep meeting on all those suggestions that you guys were getting. How many's already came in?
Oh, is that the change requests? Are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do that later in the meeting. Is
Oh,
the
okay.
plan, yeah.
So is there any questions before we go on?
Yeah, about the work items.
Well, the only question I have is where'd you do with the little icon that you had that we could hit on to enlarge the print?
Oh, right now in the Zoom meeting?
In our last meeting, you had a little icon on your presentation where we could hit the plus sign and enlarge the print.
So I
Oh.
think that's only an option on Teams, not on Zoom. So it's a different platform.
That's fine.
Yeah, if Ruth, you should see at the top view options, which in really small print, unfortunately. But if you click on that, you'll have to then click on zoom ratio, and then you can increase the size of it. It's
Hmm.
a two-step process there. So not the most user-friendly. But yeah, we'll just, yeah, we have to make sure we try to keep these as big as possible. You do have the presentation that was emailed to you yesterday afternoon too. So anyway, I hope that helps, because we do have a bit of time devoted to these two requests that, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't have time to get to last month. So we're going to talk about it now. And request 9 was one that I know Mandy and Veronica worked on, and so they want to present what they have. I'm not sure the best way to do that, if you have something written or you can describe it. So
I have it written in that email that I sent you, so I can just read it. So what we did was modify the text that was already on that screen, added to it and made it more clear. So let's see, let me start with what request number 9 was. So adding a message to dashboard for non-head of households that if they have received notification of a message, they need to check their other cases because some individuals have more than one case that they are on, and they can only view messages on the cases that they are listed as the primary or the head of household. So what we came up with was for the message to display, if you received an email or text message that you have a message in your ONE online account inbox and do not see a message here, first view your other cases. And if you still don't see your message, then contact ONE customer service for assistance. And then we put in the APTT's phone number. And then we would like to see to have a hyperlink where it says view your other cases, so that they can just click on that and that will take them directly to the screen. Have to go back and search for that. And that was all we had.
Veronica, could you go over in the middle of that, because you're cutting in and out? Looked like you had slow internet. I was trying to catch up on that.
Yes, where did I break off?
In and out all the way through it.
Okay, so request number 9 was for individuals that are on more than one case, and they can only see messages or their correspondences on the case that they are listed as a primary or the head of household. So when they go to their message center, they wouldn't see messages for cases that they are not primary. So there's a message that displays on that screen, and we've modified it to say, if you received an email or text message that you have a message in your ONE online account inbox and do not see a message here, first view your other cases. And if you still don't see your message, then contact ONE customer service for assistance. And then the applicant portal technicals team phone number there. And then we were hoping to get the words "view your other cases" hyperlinked so that the user can just click on that and that'll take them directly to a screen where they can choose what case to go look at so that they don't have to go back to the dashboard and trying to find that screen.
Okay, Veronica, I do have a question. Now, if I, the people are supposed to get text messages, right?
Correct.
Okay, I would like to suggest, this is George, would like to suggest you guys put in some kind of security when it comes to text messaging on people's cell phones, because hackers has been sending things on text, making people believe it's the real thing. So you guys has got to come up with maybe a security number or anything that they can apply to their account to make sure that it's authentic, you know what I'm talking, what I'm saying, to make sure that it's real.
Yeah, the current text message that comes out is very generic. All it says is you have a new message, log into your ONE Online account. So it doesn't have any information pertaining to the case or what the message is or anything like that. It just directs them to log into their account.
That's Veronica, and it actually doesn't even include a link, like a hyperlink, so they aren't clicking on anything from the text message. So that's one way we're doing security. I like what you're saying, George, and I agree. We've heard from a lot of other states that they're experiencing this. I want to say I was on a meeting a couple of months ago with South Carolina, and they were saying this is a big issue. One thing that Oregon is doing to mitigate that already is we're using those short code phone numbers. So it's like 6-digit codes, 5 or 6 digit. It's 5 or 6 digit. I can't recall off the top of my head. I'm a little congested today, guys. So my face and my brain are a little congested right now. But we're using that short code. Those short codes are regulated by the FCC. They have to be assigned to organizations. So when you see scammers and hackers sending text messages, they'll be from a full 10-digit phone number. They can't be coming from those 5 and 6-digit codes. Additionally, ODHS is making moves to publish the 5 or 6-digit number that we use to send our text messages from. So Oregonians will be able to look online and confirm that it was in fact from us. But you're calling out a very real problem, George. So I do want to say thank you for bringing that to light. In any way we can communicate with Oregonians that if they're receiving a text message to confirm that it is coming from that official short code before doing anything, I think that would be great.
And not to also mention, Samantha, it's now the AI coming out also, which creates a problem. That I was also concerned about.
Agree. Yeah. These are all things that as technology progresses, we need to make sure that we're preparing for and making sure our communication is really good.
Now, how are you and the crew going to let consumers know when, are you going to let the state branches, like the one here in south of Oregon, know that when consumers come across this, what's the next step could be? Like the Oregon Health and Human Service, when they go to sign up for services and they get a text like this, are they going to, are the centers and them?
So with these branch offices, communication has gone out internally, letting folks know, staff know what the official short code is that should be available for them from communications. But comms is also going to do a big push. I believe they're working on it to put out on our social media as well to let people know, hey, our official short code is this number. And also having it listed in some resources that are available for the average client as well. So It's something that I know communications is working very seriously on. I'm not with that group, so I don't know like the status or anything like that, but they have been sending them over for me to take a look at. So I am aware that it's in the works, and it's something that we've been talking about quite a bit.
Thank you.
Veronica, we see on the screen now the existing message. Can you say again what is added? Just for my benefit.
Yeah.
And
So,
you may need to turn off your camera because your
Um,
sound is a
message
little
here, comma.
choppy.
okay. Okay, is that better?
Yeah,
So where it says message here, comma, after the comma, we added in first view your other cases. And if you still don't see your message, then contact the ONE customer service. And then we're hoping to get the view your other cases hyperlinked.
and Angel, I think if you scroll down, we can see exactly where that change is then. Yeah.
It looks good to me.
What's the wait time if they have to contact customer service?
So that's the number for the applicant portal technical team. And our wait time is typically under 5 minutes.
Okay, so Veronica, they won't have to leave a message, right? They'll have a live person.
Yes, a live person, live worker will answer.
If you call during business hours.
Yes.
So Sam and James, are you looking for the committee to say okay to this, or what are you guys looking to do?
Yeah, so I think what we're looking for is the committee previously said that they wanted to do this. So do we like this suggestion? Do we have any recommended changes to the text or clarifications to the text? The only new portion of the text is the highlighted portion. But if people have a strong feeling about making other adjustments, we can discuss those as well. I would like to stick to just the highlighted portion though, if possible. But yeah, getting that feedback, seeing if this makes sense to people who are reading it, and if you like the change.
I have a question. Is there any chance that we could leave the highlighting in? Or underline that whole phrase?
I don't think we can leave the highlighting in.
How about the underlining?
We could potentially underline it because the portion that's going to be underlined right now, if I understood Veronica's proposal correctly, will be a hyperlink. So it'll be blue and underlined anyway.
Very good.
Yeah, we
Answer to
can
my answer.
make for it to stand out, either underlining or bold. I might touch base with our human-centered design subject matter expert to see how they would suggest that we make it really stand out for people.
Right. So if it's bold or underlined or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's good.
I have a question. I'm not sure if I'm understanding it. When it says do not see a message here, does that mean in the inbox, like there's no notification, like no notice? I think I'm a little lost. Is that what that means?
Yes, so if they received a notification saying that they have a new message in their inbox and they log in and they do not see a message in their inbox, it's most likely because they're looking at the wrong case, because they can only view messages for cases that they are listed as primary or the head of household on.
Okay. I'm wondering if it would make more sense if it said like, do not see a letter, a notice or a letter here, and then I kind of feel like they're going to get really confused what to do, like how to view other cases. I don't know if we need more explanation about that. Yeah.
Maybe just adding click here, like adding click here to view other cases. So maybe adding that to just the underline, but it's not always going to be necessarily a note of a benefits letter. It could be a simple, like it's time to renew, or so it's just a general message that they could be receiving.
Oh, it could just be a message, not like a letter or a notice. Oh, I see. Okay.
So I think there has been some shifts in best practices around using the terminology click here to be more specific, because click here doesn't, how do I want to say it? It doesn't work well with screen readers. Like the screen reader blurts out a bunch of weird stuff. So that it doesn't make sense to vision impaired individuals attempting to use a screen reader. So using a specific terminology, first view your other cases, and making it blue and underlined so it's an obvious hyperlink, I think it is what our current understanding of the best practice is. But I'm not vision impaired and I don't use a screen reader. So of course, defer to people who have more experience in this. That's just the kind of the direction the department is moving, to get away from click here.
Interesting.
How about select following hyperlink?
Maybe like you can follow this link to check your other cases or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not focused anymore on the screen, so I can't see what it is. Right now I'm seeing Jelly Bean.
Yeah, and Vanessa.
Sorry, let me share again. I accidentally popped out of the meeting.
I mean, Jelly Bean's pretty cute, so I'm not mad, but also I get to see her in real life all the time, and that's not me trying to spitball language on the fly.
So with all this being said, I've only seen 3 people respond to this. So Ruth, are you comfortable with this?
Yes.
Mariah, are you comfortable with this?
Yep.
Okay, Judith, what about you?
Oh, yeah.
Vixen, what about you? Vixen?
She put it in the chat.
Yeah, sorry, my dog was eating the UPS man, so yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Brandy?
Yes.
Okay. Who else are we missing? Maria, are you okay with this?
Yes, I think so. Just the things that I mentioned. Yeah.
And I think Sydney did too.
Well, did we end up, well, Maria, did you feel like this text will address your concerns, or do we need to change the wording a little bit? Because we threw some ideas around, but I don't think we ever settled on anything.
Yeah, well, so I think we're kind of talking about like click here or some other ways of messaging that. But I think, if there was a way that was easy access to view their other cases, then I don't think there would be an issue. Yeah. to have to explain that.
Okay, James and Samantha, you got your answers.
Maria, I'm sorry, maybe I'm just being slow today. The wording you were just suggesting that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think we kind of talked a little bit about like, like not using click here, but right. So then does that mean that there's going to be a way for folks to be able to view their other cases?
Yeah, so where it says view your other cases, it's underlined because that's going to be a blue hyperlink. So it's going to be a different color from the remaining text. So when you're reading it, if you click on view your cases, it's going to send you to the location where you can log. Sorry, now my dogs are going crazy, where you can view your other cases. So that will be an option. So in actual, it won't have a yellow highlight. The view your other cases in black is going to be blue and a hyperlink. So if I see that, I can click that and it'll take me to my other cases to see if I have messages there.
Does it say hyperlink?
Just the fact that it's blue and underlined indicates.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, Vanessa, does this mean like this is in the One phone app? Like this message?
That's a great question. That is a question for Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean, will this also roll over to messages, the inbox section of the phone app?
Yes, we absolutely can, and we'll add it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then it makes more sense. Thank you.
Good catch. Thank you.
This is Dion. I have a quick question. As long as we're past that, we've cleared up that piece. I don't want to move forward. If Maria, you got what you were looking for? Okay. The question that I had is the number that's listed there, that's for the technical assistance, right? It's totally separate from the one customer service or like the VEC, correct?
Yes, that'll
Yeah.
take it straight to my team.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if adding in for technical assistance before the phone number listed there, just to clarify for folks that they're not just calling, because we all know the hold times can be sometimes long when you're calling just regular customer service or VEC. And so maybe calling out that this is a completely separate, it's not just customer service, it's for technical assistance.
I think that's an excellent idea.
So changing it to one technical support instead of one customer service.
Right.
So one technical support for assistance app.
Yeah, or even just, for technical assistance, something but yeah, just clarifying that piece that they're not calling just the regular number.
Okay, so we're moving on, guys. James?
Well, I want to make sure we have this finalized. So instead of saying one customer service, which, is what we call the main line, we're calling the one, Veronica and Mandy's team. So it's the one
technical support.
Is it, Veronica, what is our official name? Is it applicant portal technical support, or can we just say one technical support?
Applicant portal technical team is like our official name, but we're trying to not use applicant portal for client facing things. So I think if we just added in the word technical before assistance, I think that's the wording that we use on like other documents. So it would be consistent with that.
So I'd read one
technical assistance. Okay. So take out the customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes perfect sense because otherwise they're going to be thinking, oh, great, I'm going to be on a 2-hour hold.
That's exactly why I asked what I did, because that was the first thing I saw was that support customer service. That to me, that's you're sitting on hold for an hour.
Do we want to say then contact ONE technical support at 1-833? Because they can't contact ONE necessarily, right? That's a system.
Ah. Boy, I wish that the public knew how much work was put in to doing this.
Okay, and I would think we capitalize technical support too, since it's a team.
But I think she wanted you to take out the one.
No, it's still ONE technical support. It's not just one though. Yeah. Okay, George, you keep trying. You want to move us along, and I'm inclined to agree now, but I want to make sure everyone is happy with this text.
Okay. I just didn't want to get behind.
Yeah.
We have a lot to cover. And Samantha, this is for request 16, correct?
This is,
No, oh,
Veronica's told me 100 times which one this is, and it keeps
it's
falling.
request 9. Sorry.
It's request
I
9, yeah.
It's 9.
Okay, so request 9 is out of the way then. And so now we're going to go down to request 18. James and Samantha, take it away.
Okay. Well, I'll have you know, George, that you and Judy and NJ were part of our team that came up with this text that we have down below in the draft idea. But just as a recap, we're looking at this question about liquid resources. You know, does your household have liquid resources? And people don't know what the heck that is, which is understandable. It's not an everyday term. And this is how it looks right now. We've got this question. Now, if people clicked on the question mark, you know, in a circle there, they would have some idea, or they would have some examples of it. But it's, you know, it's not something that people necessarily do quickly. So our idea that we had in our breakout session last time was to add some text to it. So Angel, if you could scroll back up, and it's, so unfortunately we're not gonna be able to show both things, but you know, where it said liquid resource before in bold letters and the question mark right after it, we're thinking of adding the line below it that says, like, that defines it right there. And this is our definition we came up with, are easily converted to cash. And then for examples, and now we're going to get back into this discussion, how do we ask people to click the question mark? Because that's the icon that's used throughout the system. So we want to keep the question mark. We don't want to open that box, that can of worms, of changing, you know, what more information is. But, you know, what is the best way to say that?
That was my first question when I saw that is, you know, one place where underlining link, and now we got a symbol. You know, we don't have the consistency.
I suppose we could get rid of the question mark. Now that you say it, you know, we could just say, click here for examples or something like that. But
Well, because the hyperlink redirects you somewhere else versus a question, you're staying on the same page. It's just a drop down. So that's why it's different, because a hyperlink is you're leaving one site to go to another.
that's true.
Versus that, maybe for examples, select question for drop down.
Yeah, and your briefing sheet does have the what will pop up, and we weren't going to change that. And if people want to see it on the shared screen, Angel could scroll down to it. Keep on going. And there we go. That's the existing. That's what you would get right now if you click on that question mark. And it's really one screen, but the screenshot, you know, you have to do 2 screenshots to get it all.
Well, James, from my perspective, if you go back up to where the question mark is, and it reads, liquid resources are easily converted to cash. For examples, click here. To me, that would be self-explanatory. Click here, the question mark. Unless the group can come up with a different idea on how to make it more easier.
Well, they said they're trying to get away from click here. So for example, select question mark icon.
How are you going to get away from question mark when it's all the way through the document?
Well, it's the click here we're getting away from, not the question mark. Maybe it's just for examples. Boy, I don't know. Samantha, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
As we're talking through this, my eyes keep like focusing in on the brackets underneath that says, should there be a directory at the beginning?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's actually our solution, right, guys? Like maybe what we actually need is a page at the beginning of the app that kind of goes through and like, you'll see, you know, these question mark bubbles, these have help text. You can add a new record by doing this. You can edit a record by doing that. Like one page at a time, kind of like guides you through the iconography and the general use of the app. And I wonder if that's a better use of our time than going through and editing, because these question mark bubbles are everywhere. We're not a comment on liquid resources, but what will we have a comment on next, right? I wonder if a better use of our time is adding a screen at the beginning that is like, this is how you use applicant portal or one online portal. This is what you should expect to see. I know, I just flipped the game table on you guys.
I think that was right on, actually.
I will say that we did, in our breakout group, we did spend a little bit of time talking about the need for that, actually. So that is not far off from our discussion that we had last month.
Also, please keep in mind that there's going to be people helping people that has very large lines and probably people on phones to help in this speedy idea. Which one of you had a lot of people you guys had that you had to help? Was it Vanessa? Was it Vixen? Where you had to help people fill these things out?
I do a lot of those on the veterans dental because they're usually over 65. And so when I'm helping them do OHP for veterans dental, these are the screens that come up. And I always am explaining to them what all these little areas are. I would say before, I mean, liquid resources is one, but they always want to know, like, what is a living trust? Or most of them do not know what any of those on that section mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or like a prepaid burial agreement. I mean, if they have one, yes, they know what it is, but the odds are most of them don't even know what that is.
So how can we do this in a way for people like Vixen that has a long line of people that they're helping go through this in a smoother.
So I think we're asking two questions. We're asking one question about liquid resource and the other one about the icons. When it comes to liquid resource, yes, simplifying text, defining it. However, question mark, I don't necessarily think that at the beginning of an application, a explanatory text box will necessarily be beneficial because people will scroll past it. You need a reminder in that moment, like, wait, what is that again? So I don't know if something at the very beginning will necessarily be helpful, especially because many times, at least with the families that I work with, parents are full-time parents and they're scrolling through these really fast just to get through it and get it submitted.
Yeah.
And they'll sometimes get so far and then have to go back if they're doing it on their own. So the option of it being at the beginning, I think the question mark is fine, but the simple text that kind of says what it is great. And then to answer like the whole part of that, and I don't even think it's within the one application itself. I think OHA needs to do a sheet that just kind of gives these that we can have available, that's whether it's dry, like laminated or something, or we can hand out so that people know what these terms mean. That it's not us trying to explain it all the time, that they can read it and understand what it means.
Which goes back to the need for the info icon or question mark.
So whatever the group wants to agree on, I'll be your support on this in your agreement.
So I liked what Vanessa pointed out, in that, you know, we do have sort of two separate questions running parallel here. One is the text that we have before us, and Maria put a alternative text, which we should probably discuss. That's one question. And then, and somewhat related, because it could affect this, is, you know, should we have that directory at the beginning? And or maybe we should table that question for another time. I don't know.
Well, we could do that when we were all done. Come back and do that.
And Vanessa has a good point about, you know, maybe it's helpful, but a lot of people just scroll right past it.
Mhm.
But is this situation anywhere else in any of the others?
These help text bubbles come up all over, all over. And they don't necessarily just live on questions like this liquid resource one. Like, for example, there's one that is next to the question asking what the individual's gender identity is, and it has descriptions of different gender identities. So they're throughout the application. So while we're being asked about liquid resources right now, and I think that we can resolve liquid resources right now, we also need to maybe think of what the broader, how we more broadly deal with the question of ensuring that people understand what the question mark button is.
So does the group feel like we've already solved this, or would you like to table it for next meeting?
So I like Maria's when it comes to, again, there's two things. So I think when it comes to the liquid resource, I like how Maria defined it. And how does everyone feel on that? And then the second one, we should definitely table icons and how should we best navigate and support those using one with icons, right?
Right. I agree.
So are we all in agreement with this? On those two separate ideas?
I agree.
So, yeah, I agree, except I have one little wrinkle in that. Okay, agree with tabling if we change to Maria, which, you know, looks great, the liquid resources are cash or other assets which can be converted to cash. How do we put the phraseology for the question mark? Then should it still be, for examples, click here, or should there just be a question mark still next to liquid resource?
Why don't we just Why don't we just do for examples and then put the little question mark there? And not right click here.
But is this going to be the same all the way through?
Yeah, it will be, that with the same question mark.
Yeah.
And they're trying to take out the verbiage click here because
Well,
it's.
yeah, but that my concern is that once what we pick out to do here is we need to make sure we're consistent with all the others.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about, for example, select icon?
Do we normally have the question mark after the word that they might not know what it is? So like liquid resources question mark or easily.
It's
Where do
gonna
we
be
normally have it?
Do we
Yeah.
have the, can we scroll down to look at that?
That's where, yeah, it's right after the term right now.
I think it would be okay, you know, if we don't want to right click here, I think it would be okay to have that question mark right after the liquid resources, but I don't know if it'll make sense with all the other content in there.
Yeah, I think it's confusing if we.
Or if we had like liquid resources question mark, and then we would have liquid resources or, you know, blah, 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 right? What did I say?
But we're going to run across this same problem in many other places in the document. Do we want to put click here? Do we not? Do we want a question mark or do we not? The question mark is all the way through the document. So is it click here or is it what?
It's all the way through the document, and there are places where adding, for examples, click here would not make sense.
Mhm.
So like I'm kind of leaning away from it if we're looking at it as a holistic fix.
I feel like the question mark is helpful. I think we're kind of used to that, not just in this platform, but just, you know.
Okay, guys, we need to decide what we want to do here to move on.
Well,
Or-
I vote we take the click here out and put the question, leave the question mark.
Brandy, what do you guys want to do? Vanessa? Dixon? April? Ruth?
I want to leave the question mark, but do an explanation part.
So can we do, for example, select question mark icon instead of click here? So we're still giving them
Yes.
guidance on how to get examples.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so are we okay with this now, or do we need to table the other part of this for next meeting?
No, because this will get them started getting used to going on the question mark icon throughout the document. So that's a good start.
Okay, well, so Samantha, with this being said, is this going to be throughout all the documents being like this? Samantha?
Sorry. So like I said, there are a lot of places in the app where this would not work. Just because of the layout of the screen. So we would have to go through for each question mark and determine how we want it to be displayed. If we want to add something like this, or if we want to add something else. It looks like we're also moving the question mark icon from next to liquid resources down into this text bit. If we can scroll back down again into this screenshot. So it looks like it's up. It's up on the title line, and it looks like we're adding additional text and moving it down into the kind of body line, I guess, of this question, if I'm understanding this correctly.
It would be a new line, I think. The definitional text would be under it, and then maybe there's that horizontal line, and then there's the regular question. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we would be changing. That would make liquid resources look different than every other question on this screen and every other gate post. So we would again want to make sure that we're looking at a bigger picture for this to ensure that we're not just having like one question that's significantly formatted differently. So normally the definition comes in, so it would say like, I wish I could point at the screen and you guys could see where my finger is. I'm just gonna say that right now. Actually, wait, I have the technology. Okay, so here's my screen, right? All right, so what we normally have is liquid resources and then the question mark, right? And then we'll have the question and we'll have definitions down here, if that makes sense, and then leave the yes, no. But what I think what I'm hearing is we're saying liquid resources, definition, add the question mark, and then leave this question, does anyone in the household, leave this as is. Is that what I'm understanding?
Guys, speak up.
Would we be able to leave that title there, the liquid resources, with the question mark, and maybe after the question mark, we could put like, for examples, a select question mark for something up there, and then just kind of have the definition on the bottom?
Yes, we could do it. Let me see if I can find one really, really quick where it better explains. I think it's actually going to be the income section might be the easiest place to do this. Maybe, no, maybe it's the resources. Just give me a second. I'll see if I can find an example of another place where we have it. Like, I think I'm understanding Maria asking.
We're a little overdue for a break. If you need time to find it and everyone to take a breather, I almost feel like we've had so many questions come up. We need to start outlining all the different questions. And so maybe why don't we take our 10-minute break? So we'll be back 11:13. Give people a moment to think about things and.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I can get a good screenshot of this over to be shown.
Okay, perfect. So,
James,
yeah,
we're coming back at 11:13 or 11:15. Are we going to have enough time to go over on the other ones?
well, this is the last one we're trying to finalize today. So, but we will see how we do on everything else.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see you all in 11:14, 10 minutes.
All right.
No more of this chit chat.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
Are we here?
Yep, we're all here.
Okay.
So just for the record, are we taking request 16 and approving it already, or have we moved it to the next meeting? With the question mark, liquid.
Oh, you mean request 18, the liquid resources?
Yeah, that one. I'm sorry, 18.
That's, we didn't really talk about it, but maybe that's a good idea considering we have a bit more of an agenda to go through, and we can I was trying to develop some questions of what this brought up and that we could send out, but that probably need to be refined a little bit because they're a little rough. But we could keep talking about it too. So George
Okay, so
or anyone else, what do you think?
So here's my idea. If you guys are okay with it, Angel, we can go ahead and put this, talk about it again for our next meeting in March. Because we want to be able to make sure this is going to be okay and smooth and everything else. You gonna be okay with that, Samantha?
I think that is a great idea because it gives us the opportunity to pull together some samples from the rest of the application so people can get an understanding of the full look and feel and get a really good sense of what we're talking about as far as potential changes. We can do some mock-ups to see what that would look like and let people make a decision because we do want to try to keep consistency throughout the application. So what we decide, we're going to have to look at how we can implement through the whole thing. There's no such thing as an easy change, James. I don't know who made you think that that was a real thing.
We've had some easy ones.
Okay, so Samantha, with that being said, when does request 18 have to go out to be implemented? If we were to do it in March?
We are too late for it to be in March. Right now, we're looking at potentially April if we could get it approved today. I would say, since we're talking about some larger changes, I think that we should give this one the due time that it takes and not worry too much about when we tag it to. It's not currently tagged to any build, so we have however long it takes us to figure it out. And as I mentioned earlier, because of the size of the pencil and red X changes, like we're not wasting any potential right now. We have a couple of work items we can fill in, so we're getting our money's worth. Don't worry.
Okay, so with that being said, does it James or is it you or is it Angel that keeps on top of the 18 request to make sure that we're good with that?
Well, I think just our group and along with the planning committee, we'll make sure. And so it'll go on the agenda for the next meeting, certainly. And of course, we'll get Samantha to show us some examples of other places too.
Okay. Our next thing is, and here, I think this is a big one. Request 25. Take it, Samantha and James.
Oh, sure thing. So we actually had a request to, actually, let me back up just a little bit. So ERDC is a program that provides childcare assistance, money for childcare, basically, to families who meet certain criteria. Just a level set. It used to be employment-related daycare, but I believe you can receive it when you're just a student who is not working as well. And basically the way that it works is that you apply and become found eligible. And then you have to be provided to a state approved childcare provider. You have to be connected to them by a group called the Direct Pay Unit. So the Direct Pay Unit handles ensuring that the provider has met all their state regulations to be able to be a provider for the state. They've done their background checks. They've done all their classes, et cetera. They meet the requirements. And then they'll connect an individual with an approved provider. So long as that connection is active, that provider will be paid every month for doing their job, right? There are scenarios where that connection can break for any myriad of reasons. I actually can't think of one off the top of my head because, again, very stuffy head right now. But the provider connection can break and the client will start hearing from the provider, hey, I didn't get paid last month, which is super confusing. not like something that makes a whole lot of sense, like why they wouldn't get paid. And it's for the client, it's kind of a confusing bit of feedback. So we've understood that it may be helpful for the clients to Angel, you're still sharing. It may be helpful for the clients to be able to see when they're
I'm going to jump in. Angel, you're sharing your chat screen now instead of the presentation.
Oh, no.
So we found that it may be helpful for the clients to be able to log into their one online account and see if they have a connection to a provider that's active or not, and as well to have the contact information they would need to resolve that provider connection. I understood Vanessa, I believe, told us that it was like an hours and hours and hours long wait. To be able to get through that call line. So providing them with the tools so that they can send an email and self-serve. So we do currently have that data available in the worker side portal. It's very easy change to the dashboard to be able to make it visible to clients so they know if they're connected as well. And for people who are receiving ERDC, they are very well versed on all of this. They get a lot of paperwork talking about connections and provider statuses and whatnot. So I did do a little mock-up where I would really appreciate some people who are more familiar with the childcare program from the provider and the client end to look at it and tell me if I use words that resonate with our customers. Are we able to pull up the mock-up from the briefing sheet? James Sparta?
Yeah, that would be me. Sorry.
I was like, wait, who's displaying now?
Okay, it's going to take me. I'm going to just stop sharing so I can pull the briefing sheet up now that you so diligently put together for us. Get the right spot. There.
Oh. Okay. I hate it when it breaks over two screens. So what you're seeing on the top here is how it currently looks, where it tells them what their next renewal date is. It tells them the name of everybody who is eligible for the child care assistance benefits. Child care assistance does have a copay in some situations. I couldn't tell you what the policy is around it, you guys. It's changed about 1 million times since I was a worker. But sometimes there's copay, sometimes there isn't. It's all very well communicated. And then there's authorized hours. So that's how many hours the client can use the paid childcare services per month. So what we're suggesting is a slight modification to what the customer sees on their individual dashboard. To after authorized hours, we just add a little thing that maybe says, and again, very much you guys tell me what the right wording is here. Provider status, and then it would either show connected if they are connected or not connected if they're not connected. And then we could even have some variable text such that if the provider status is not connected, it would say something to the extent of your provider status is not connected. If your child has a childcare provider and you think this is an error, email and then provide them the email address to reach out to DPU. We've understood that the email address is preferable to the phone number.
Hi, this is George. Could you explain to me, and maybe others that don't know what,
I asked for that and we're not allowed to show that the DHS provider number because that's a DPU side thing, not a one thing. I tried, Sydney.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's even in one. And they're not going to let me build additions to the interface out of this. I would love to.
That's good to know. Thanks, Vanessa.
no, I was going to ask what ERDC stands for is what I was going to ask.
Employment related daycare.
Okay.
So back in the olden days, it was only for individuals who are employed. They are expanding the program to also include students.
Okay.
And families that are receiving TANF or refugee supports or DV TANF. So
I'm glad you're here, Vanessa.
Thanks for that verification.
I think that looks great, but I think just in case people don't want to email and they want to call, I think email at whatever or call email or call DPU at blah, blah, just in case, because some might not want to email and they might want to call still.
I
That's
would say also, can we put a note on there, like, please have your provider number or the, like, your provider's information and your case number information available. You know, especially if they're emailing, hope, you know, the more information they can supply in an email, then the less emails back and forth they're gonna need. And hopefully the less chance of there being a mistake made on like the worker side.
I like that. I like all that. Let me see if I can. Just gonna go look for the hyperlink to the briefing sheet. My face is so stuffy, you guys. I appreciate you all putting up with me today because I am congested as heck and my brain does not work well when I'm congested. So
Well,
thank you.
Sandra, you're a wonderful person.
I appreciate the patience though. Okay, so my note here was add the phone number and hours of operation as well as instructions that they. It was case number and providers information. Is that what you said, April?
Provider ID available.
That's some quick and dirty notes for me, and I'll put them into better words. I'll probably reach out to probably Joanne at DPU and get some suggested language from her of how she would like to see that.
And you know, we haven't, well, this was a presentation to make sure we're going forward with it. We could, it'd be easy to rope in some DELC people, Department of Early Learning and Care, and get their suggestions as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think DELC might not necessarily know so much as DPU because DELC is going to say, oh, they have ERDC, they have ERDC. So that's a completely different realm versus DPU because once a family is approved, it's kind of out of the DELC's hands. They only really come into connection with ODHS if they have to report a change or a renewal. So this now is how does DPU want to see this because they're the ones that are going to receive the influx of emails and calls.
Well, DPU is part of DELC nowadays too. Sort of.
Yes-ish. I think, you know, we can touch base with, you know, DELC policy analysts as well as the leads over at DPU to make sure that everybody is getting a chance to review before we move forward, which would be our normal process. We do, you know, before we make any changes, we do run it by policy to ensure that we're not making any policy breaking changes. So
They'll be excited.
Yeah, that's part of the sausage making that you guys don't see on my side where I'm checking in on all of our suggestions to make sure we can do them. But James is right. This isn't the figure out exactly the language portion of the party. This is we're considering this. Is this a change that we do want to prioritize? And we see value in.
So guys, are you okay with this? Okay, Vanessa, Sydney. Okay, April. Bruce. Okay, Maria.
Yes.
Vixen. Judith.
Yes.
Vixen said she missed out. Could you explain, Samantha, to Vixen? Because I think she said she missed out most of the discussion.
Yeah, so just as a really quick recap, we have a program that is administered through the ONE system called ERDC. It's childcare assistance for families in a variety of situations. Right now, you know, when these people are found eligible for the ERDC program to receive childcare assistance, they are connected to a provider who is confirmed through the state, has their background checks, has their further education done, et cetera, that are basically they're compiled by the state, and the state is allowed to pay them for doing childcare. And what happens is the customer is connected to a provider. There are a variety of reasons, I couldn't even go into them, as to why that provider connection may end up getting broken. But what will often happen is customers in that scenario will start hearing from their childcare provider, hey, I didn't get paid for last month, or hey, I didn't get paid for the last 2 months. And that's not really something that the client can like go in and confirm what's going on. So we do have the opportunity to add that information to their dashboard. So when they log into the ONE online account, they would be able to see if their provider is currently connected or not. If the connection flag is no, we would like to display some additional language to help the customer be able to resolve the situation, to reach out to DPU in an expeditious manner and have what they need to provide to get that fixed, et cetera. But right now we're just kind of trying to decide, like, is this a change that this committee wants to move forward with exploring, or is this something we want to put on the back burner?
Oh, I think it's great because I can tell you that is a huge barrier in my community and miscommunication between like a provider and, you know, what is getting paid and what isn't. And yes, and even applying for other help. This is a screen they would need that they could benefit from using in their other applications for help with other fees that aren't covered by their ERDC.
So are you okay with this, Vixen?
Very much so, yes.
Okay, James, Samantha, you got your votes.
All right, so we'll request a work item number be created for that one and start working with DPU and DELC on the language, and then bring back recommendations for this group.
So when do you think that it's going to go out for it to be permanent?
Let me look at my calendar really quick. I think that it would be part of our April, it could be part of the April 17th build.
Okay.
Potentially, yeah. That's the one we'll target anyway.
Okay, so now we're going on the request 26.
Okay, so this one came in from our medical assisters. Medical assisters are individuals out in the community who are contracted through OHA to provide application assistance through paper apps or the ONE system, or calling in to help individuals apply for and manage their medical assistance. That's both the OHP, what we traditionally thought of as the OHP medicals, but also the non-MAGI medicals, which are medicals for older adults and individuals with disabilities. So these medical assisters, they use the ONE online portal just like you guys all do, you know, just like a customer would when applying for themselves, but they can log in and enter applications on behalf of people who agree to work with them. So they've observed when they're entering applications that they do have to, on the relationship screen in the ONE online portal, there's a question that is asking about, is individual 1 the legal guardian of individual 2? And of course it fills in individual 1 and individual 2 with names, but I'm just saying that to, you know, make it really blunt, right? So in the screenshot, is John Doe the legal guardian of Stacy Doe? So this question will only come up if the relationship between John Doe and Stacy Doe is not parent-child. And this question was originally asked, created and asked to help when we're sending child support referrals over to the Department of Justice. We are not currently doing that for medical. However, we don't want to like flat out remove the question because we could at any time return to a point where we are having to send child support referrals over for medical assistance. So the medical program would like us to keep the question in. So there was the ask of how can we make this less cumbersome, right? Because when you're dealing with a household of 3, it's not that bad to just go in and go, nope, John Doe is not the legal guardian. Nope, Jane is not the legal guardian. Blah, 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 blah. It's very easy. But when we're talking about scenarios where you have very large households, it's a lot of clicking. It is a phenomenal amount of clicking. So there was a suggestion to make it kind of a global where there could be a checkbox. John Doe is not the legal guardian of anybody on this case. But this is one that I pre-vetted with the medical policy analysts because of the touchiness of our child support referral system. I wanted to be very careful around this one. And what they recommended is that we pre-populate the answer as no, as a solution to this, so that our individuals who are filling out the application for themselves or our medical assisters are not having to go in and mark no, 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 no over and over again. The only time they need to go in and work with this question is if they're making the answer yes. So basically, this is just a suggestion that we want to check with you guys. Do you see value in changing the logic of how this question appears when the screen is first loaded, such that it would appear in a way that would make it easier for people doing a bunch of data entry to move through it a little bit faster? This is one of those low effort changes, low effort, medium impact. It can be annoying when you're having to click no, 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 no over and over again for a bunch of different household members.
So are you saying like that question in particular would be pre-populated as no for every single person on the case? So we've got John, who's an adult, Jane, who we'll assume is adult, Stacy, maybe there's 5 other kids like under 18. It's going to be assumed no for every single person. They have to, John and Jane have to go in and push yes.
Yes, exactly. Right now, when it loads in, it's blank. So they have to go in and select no for each child. We're saying let's load it in as no and let them select yes if that's appropriate.
Sounds good to me. If the system can't be made smart enough to not put that as on someone who's like 7 years old, then I would say that sounds perfect.
You know, that was actually what I originally suggested, April. I was like, why don't we just make it not appear or something like that? And they came up with a good point, right? That 7-year-old is 7 today, but let's say they're not 7, they're 17, right? And next year they're 18. And so they could be a legal guardian. And now we don't have that data. And so that becomes a problem. So just, having it at least have a no means that we'll never have a situation where we don't have data that we have to have. But I was with you. I had the same thought process.
Well, I guess the other side of it would be if that kid turns 18 and they become the legal guardian, is the system going to say, hey, Stacy, you're 18. Are you the legal guardian of anybody besides yourself? Is it going to trigger that when a kiddo turns 18?
So no, the system it's not like going to send out a letter and be like, hey, you're 18 now, so we need to know this information, which is why we have to have something populated in. The next time that Stacy comes through, though, that question will be available for them to update the response.
And so Samantha, how long would they have to change that? Would they give them 30 days to change it?
It will come up at the next time that we evaluate their eligibility. So usually their renewal. So let me see, for medical, when you turn 18, you move from the nope, it's when you turn 19 that you move from the child programs to OHP adult. So it could be up to 11 months and whatever, 29 days. But there's no requirement that they change it the second they turn 18. We just have to have something or the system will break.
So if you got to put in your birthday and you come to this option, would the system automatically know, since you've already put in your birthday, when you turn the legal age to remind you automatically?
So the question is required on the screen. So it's something that they do have to answer.
Okay. Anybody want to give Samantha ideas? Now would be the time.
I think so far this looks good. It's going to reduce the amount of time it takes for someone to complete an application, especially with large families. So yep, I am on board.
Vixen?
I'm on board.
Judith?
Yay.
And April, you're on board, right?
Mm.
Okay, Sydney? Okay, everything's a go, guys.
What happened to Ruth?
Oh, you're Ruth, I'm sorry.
Where is she? There she is.
Ruth, what about you?
She's on
Just giving a
mute.
thumbs up.
Okay, good.
All right, then you have your votes, James and Samantha.
All right. Well, because we got to keep Samantha working. We got one more.
That seems reasonable. Oh, my husband just brought me my nasal spray so I can be not congested here in a minute. Woo!
Oh, now that we only have 20 minutes.
I know, right?
You can breathe.
Not quite yet, and I'll need a minute to. It's the one that has menthol in it, so like when you use it, you need a minute to put your brain back together.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the strong stuff. I sent him a message a couple minutes ago. I'm like, my teeth hurt. I'm so congested. So he came to save me. But let me discuss this one first. And sorry that you guys have to live through a little more stuffy Sam. So this one is another one that was requested by our medical assisters to help them when they're locating cases for individuals they're assisting with their medical. So this would not be a change for customers. This would only exist for our medical assisters, but they do help a lot of people. And we actually have some members of CPOP, the CP outreach program and our community partners here on the call. So they can attest to how much great work they're doing with us. Super appreciate them. So when they're searching for an individual who has like come into their office and said, oh, can you help me report a change to my medical? They have name, date of birth, social security number, if the person has one. They can search by case number, application number, a couple of other criteria. But right now, they cannot search by the client ID. So the client ID, if you have an OHP card, I think it's a 6, maybe it's a 7-digit number that is a unique identifier. So if somebody hands the community partner their medical ID card from OHP, it'll have their first name, last name, and their client ID number. If somebody has like a really common name, searching by first name, last name, it may take you a million years to find that person. But if you can search by their client ID number, that might make it a lot faster for them to find the correct person to start assisting when they're searching in their dashboard. So what you're looking at right now is a screenshot of what it looks like when a community partner medical assister logs in, and they have all these search criteria that they can search for an individual who's asking them to assist. They can search for their case. Did I do a mock-up on this one? Maybe I didn't do a mock-up on this one. Oh, I did. Look at that. Look at that, you guys. So what we're talking about is just adding another search criteria. just another way for them to search for people so that they can positively identify the client and start assisting them with whatever they've come into the office for.
So Samantha, what would you like for us to do?
I just need to know if this is something we want to take up or if we want to delay it for another time.
Let's do it.
There you go. I was just gonna say, we're missing some of our medical assisters today, but Maria, I know, is one, so it's good to get the thumbs up.
And I'm one, and I say thumbs up.
Excellent.
You guys could probably speak better to the need for a client ID on this screen than I ever could. It's your daily life.
It is the daily life, and it's really interesting because I just had one of those Monday. So
So what would you guys want changed on this? So you would like it the way it is now, right?
yeah, just adding that client ID.
Okay. Would that pull up, Samantha, would that pull up anybody with an ID or just certain people?
So, and that was actually a clarifying question I did want to check, and I was planning to do if we decided to move forward with this. So currently there's kind of two ways community partner medical assisters can search. They can search for anybody associated to their organization. So I cannot remember the name of Vixen's organization off the top of my head right now. Probably if I scroll back up.
Neon.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Neon.
Neon. Okay, so Vixen can go in and she can search for anybody who is associated to work with Neon, even if they normally work with somebody else employed by Neon who is not Vixen. Vixen can search for any of them, and she can use any of the criteria that you see listed. Last year, no, 2 years ago now, I don't know. Time is really weird. I can't believe it's 2024. We did add an additional type of search, which allows us to search, or allows our community partners to search for individuals who are not in their organization, but they have to have very specific criteria, which is first name, last name, date of birth. If they do not have first name, last name, date of birth, they cannot do a search for people outside of their organization. And this is kind of a safety measure to keep people from doing searches for funsies, right? You have to have a certain amount of data. So I would want to check with our community, with CPOP and our medical policy and our community partners to determine if they would want to add client ID as one of these criteria that can be used to do the outside of your organization search, or if they want to keep that to first name, last name, date of birth. Just to see what their suggestion is, but as it is proposed right this moment, it would only be, they can search for people who are already associated to their organization using the client ID.
Okay, I have two questions. One is, say like a consumer is in Vixen's, that comes to Vixen's organization and does one's services, and she tries to pull them up, and then come to find out if they're in another organization, say like from April's organization, for example, will that tell on here as to how many organizations that this person's been at to apply for services? And question two, can this be pulled up with the first, last name, and client ID if they were from in another state?
Your second one's much easier. No, we cannot look up other state. Our system does not connect to the Medicaid information for other states, so it can't pull it up.
We would have to use MMIS to look up something similar to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could look up, there is a way to do it in MMIS to some extent, but not through the ONE system. So if your first question was, if somebody walks into see Vixen, but they had previously seen April, and they're at different organizations, would Vixen be able to look them up? Because they're not at Vixen's organization, they would have to enter the first name, last name, and date of birth of that individual. So if it was me, it would be Samantha Brookshire and then my date of birth, right? And that Vixen would search and be able to find me and connect to me. It does not provide a list of who they're currently connected to, because you can only have one connection at a time. So our community partners, medical assistant community partners, are trained such that if they are forming a connection to someone, if they search for them and they're going to start working with them, they need to get the authorization form to be able to work with them and understand that if that person was connected to someone else, that connection is now broken and it is reconnected. So Vixen would be ending my connection to April and creating a connection between the two of us, and would have to have all of the authorizations on file to work with me. But that's our existing functionality. What we're talking about here is simply adding a new criteria with which Vixen could search for me.
So what new criteria would you guys suggest? Do you like the client ID idea?
I would suggest putting the client ID on there as part, like we could search off of that, just like we do case ID or name, last name.
Okay, Cindy, you're okay with that? Maria?
Yeah. And I feel like I need to think about it a little more.
Okay, April? Ruth?
If it's what the people that are using it would like to have, I would go for it.
Okay, Judith?
Who is actually putting this information on the form?
Yes, the certified assisters, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, Samantha, I kind of feel like it would be helpful that when we search for individuals outside of our organization, first name, last name, date of birth, but also like sometimes we might not know who the primary applicant might be. And so like the application ID or case number, client ID could be helpful. Because we have to kind of, put in all the family members in there to find it, right?
Oh my.
So in the notes in the brief sheet, it says the client ID isn't going to be a randomly generated number, but it's a number found on the medical ID card, which is what they're providing. So people will come in. I'll say, I'm not going to go with April. I'm going to go with Vixen. I don't know what my information is, but here's my medical ID card and it has my client ID, which is how they're referred to in another system. So this is to reduce people that have the same name, could potentially have the same date of birth. So that client ID is specific, almost like a case number to them. So it's just another way for assisters to search the client and make sure that they're selecting the correct client.
That makes sense. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So my vote is yes.
Okay, so you have your yeses, James and Samantha.
All right, so it sounds like we have 3 that we're going to send over to have work items started on for us to work on for next month.
Yay.
And then we've got the request revisit.
Yep.
Go for it, Samantha.
Oh,
mean-
no, this one's James Barta.
Yeah. Well, this is something that came up a little while back, and I know we're almost at time. So let me, before I dive into this request too, I'm just going to say that, the last part of the agenda was us talking about change requests. Like I told George earlier, he was about to, we were going to start talking about it, like, oh, we're going to do it later in the meeting. Well, here we are at the end of the meeting. We're not going to get to it, but we will prioritize it next time on the agenda, because change requests are the big deal things that you all have been interested in making changes on, not the smaller stuff that we're talking about here, which, you know, is admittedly quite tricky, but these bigger items will get hopefully one of our head honchos who runs all those things to help explain it. And partially you can learn from him, but also he'll learn from you and hear your concerns too. So we want to make it a two-way street. Okay, so with that, we're talking about feedback. And I think it originally came up as how people can say nice things. Well, you know, work for the state. I recognize people will also want to say things other than nice things too. And so we want to, we're now making sure that we're going to have a mechanism so we can actually respond to people. That was why we were pushing this off, because it's like, you know, who's going to respond? What's the point of getting feedback if we're not actually doing anything with it? So we're now getting to that point where we'll be doing something with it. The question for this group is, where should it go? You know, where in the process should it be that we have what will likely be a link to like a survey type thing? And because that'll be easier for us to manipulate, not in the ONE system itself. So where should it go? And what are some of the questions we should be asking? So those, again, are very broad. Those are things that we're working on our end, but I would love for this group to throw in its ideas, and as we move along in different work streams, we'll be comparing notes, and we'll make sure and share whatever we're developing on our end with this group as well. So I guess I'm hoping, you know, since we don't have really time to discuss those two big questions, that you all give it some thought. Feel free to email us. And yeah, I guess that's my pitch on it. Anything else, Samantha, that I should throw in?
Nope, nothing else from me.
Okay,
Just-
so. Go ahead, Sam.
I was saying, just excited to see how this all shakes out.
So with that being said, we will take requests 2 and what was the other one, 18? Or whatever it was that we worked on? Request.
18 we'll bring back for next month.
Right, for March's meeting. And I think that between this time and March, request 2 will kind of give us an idea within the timeline and give us enough time, think, James, to be thinking about the 2 questions, I think.
Yeah. That would be great.
On these other ones, on 7, 11, 14, 20, and 22, Samantha, what do you want to do with those? Did I
Wait,
go?
I think,
Those are the change requests.
oh, from the agenda, sorry.
Yeah, 7, 11, 14, 20, and 22.
Those are much bigger bites of the apple. And so we're going to be talking about, we have to build a process to do that. And I have a feeling each of them are going to be its own, you know, each one of them would be pretty different. So it's going to be a broad process that we're going to be concurrently developing on the change requests that are listed in your agenda.
Okay, so we can take 7, 11, 14, 20, and 22 March's agenda.
Yeah, we'll start our discussion. These, in a sense, can be our examples of how we're going to be discussing change requests. This is just a list of what we've come up with. We've run into already in our previous months of discussion, and yeah, that's, you know, we're going to have to think about how to approach these. Now, another disclaimer in our last minute here is that and I would be remiss if I don't say this, that our change, work items are great because we can get them in just a couple months. Change requests are backed up. We're a year and a half out optimistically on new change requests. So it's, again, it's a whole other realm here of getting these types of things in. So just putting that disclaimer out front. But that doesn't mean, if we don't start working on them, then that, the implementation date gets pushed out even further. So, yeah, so there you go.
So we are getting change requests all the way backed up for a year.
Yeah, if say we have this wonderful discussion in the next couple of months, it's like, oh, let's go forward on one of these requests. It may be a year and a half before we could get it implemented.
Okay, but we have a lot of work to do then,
Yep.
and we can do it. How many do you figure? 50, 40, 30?
Oh, how many change requests that are already in the system, you mean?
No, that's already gotten to you guys to be worked on.
I think it's just these, actually. Because the rest have all been requests, right, James?
Oh, all the others have been work items that we've been doing. These just happened. We realized, oh, these are too big to be work items. Is what this list of 5 different requests are.
Okay. So with that being said, and these being moved over to the March's meeting, including the request 18 and the other one.
Yeah.
I do want to say something before we close. So James, are you and Samantha already finished?
Yeah, we need just to wrap up.
Okay. With this being said,
Sorry, hold on. Before we wrap up, Vixen had a question in there. I don't know if it was addressed. She
I'm
said,
sorry.
does number 28 need more discussion? It's super simple. Can we send to build? And then I have another question for Samantha, but it's like random topic after.
you can go for it.
No, go. Go ahead,
My answer is yes, 28 is super simple. And yes, I think we could just send it to Bill.
Thanks, Vanessa, for bringing that up. I didn't see that.
Thanks, Vixen.
Okay. So with that, so we're all done with the agenda, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So before everybody departs, I want to let everybody know that I have a charging station idea. It's now in progress within the city of Medford, surrounding areas, which is that are 100 charging stations. And so now I'm in communication with a person in ODOT. She's interested in the 88 transition plan committee. And since her being interested in the ODOT sector, look forward and it going to all over the state of Oregon. So
And charging stations for wheelchairs, and those types of devices, right?
right, the only are for power wheelchairs only. So with that being said, April, Vixen, Sydney, if you would like them to be in your organizations, please get a hold of Deanne Emerson. She's the CEO of United Way of Jackson County. Her phone number is 541-773-5339. She will give you all the information you need to be having one of these in your organizations. I've already talked to the director of the Medford Airport, and they're excited to have one at their Medford Airport. Also, probably if you're in Medford, you'll probably be seeing them soon in banks like Chase Bank, if you're in Southern Oregon. So with that being said, I enjoyed your guys' company and meeting is now adjourned. Any questions before we go? Okay. I will see you all in the March's meeting. I'll see you, Vanessa, in the parade thing in March. Which is what day, James, for March?
It's a Tuesday, the 12th.
Well,
Okay,
March
can you
12th.
send me those, can you and James send me the real meeting for March, like for this one, and then the pre-one before that? So I can see if I can see if it's on my calendar already.
Okay.